Hi guys, Digital Sticks, and I'm back again. Obviously, the tornado warning did not transpire into an actual tornado hitting my home, which is always good. So if you've seen part one, that's why I had to cut it short quickly. All right, now part one, I was discussing the index, and that's basically hands down the best VR for PC VR. The only downside that some people reject an index for, well, two. One is there's some reports, and it does seem to have some quality issues. They definitely appear to be more prevalent than for other headsets, but Valve is good about handling RMAs for that. We covered that. The other drawback is some people prefer wireless above many other features, and for that, there's no wireless support available for the index. So that is definitely worth considering. If you're a pole dancer, you're not going to want an index, at least not yet. And I actually do know pole dancers in VRchat, and they use the original Vive with wireless. Pretty much the best options for wireless, we'll cover that. I don't really cover that a lot, but that's going to be your original Vive or the Vive Pro, or you may want to consider the Cosmos. I can't say a whole lot about the Cosmos, but there is a Steam VR tracked option that's going to be rather expensive. You will get some good visual fidelity. Your tracking for your controllers will be Steam VR tracking. Of course, it's an expensive headset, and it comes with Vive wands instead of the index controllers. So those are your options for wireless. The people I know that use wireless pretty much are just sticking with their original Vives. And that is another consideration. If you like wireless, perhaps you could just have the original Vive and keep that available, but then get the index for general VR use, and you would really be set. Because you can interchange between the index and the Vive rather easily. I mean, you have to plug one in or the other, but you could choose which one to use. Because it was nothing for me to drop back to the original Vive while I'm waiting for my index to come back. So if I were wanting wireless for VRchat, because that's almost exclusively what people want it for. I mean, other people just hate wires, period, which is understandable. But anyways, if you're wanting it for VRchat, maybe keeping the Vive for that, but you still may want to consider an upgraded headset for better visuals for other VR experiences. It's a personal preference. But it's a little bit from a tangent because I'm trying to start off concise, but I've covered the index pretty much completely. The other benefit, especially for VRchat with the index controllers, is your finger tracking from the index controllers and the ability for native Vive tracker support. And as you can see, Steam VR tracking is really good, really precise. The base stations, again, seem to be a higher incidence of malfunctions with the 2.0s that come with the index, but the index will work fine with the original 1.0s, which is what I have. I've had mine for over a year, and they've been working flawlessly. I just recently had to swap one out that was malfunctioning, but I haven't confirmed for a fact that there was a problem with a fatal flaw with the base station, or whether there's something else. But swapping it out for another one that I had solved my problems for now. Okay, so now as far as for a budget, though, that's where it gets a little trickier. And as far as new headsets go, if you cannot afford an index, your next best option is actually going to be, in my opinion, the Rift S. Some people would say the Quest. Some people say with the Quest having PC support, there's no reason to get a Rift S. I disagree. And the number one reason I disagree is comfort. Comfort is essential for VRchat. This is not a game that you're just going to play for half an hour to an hour at a time, or even just 2 hours at a time if you're not limited by the battery life of a Quest. This is a game you want to have a comfortable headset for, because you want to be able to enjoy your time with other people. I mean, if you have an exception to that, that's perfectly fine. But in general, this is a game that people spend entirely too much time in, but it's because it's not just a game. It is actually a social experience. And so with that in mind, you want comfort. If you've never tried VR before, you won't realize the comfort is what's bugging you so much about the Index. You won't realize that that's not the way it has to be. But I'm telling you, it's not the way it has to be. I've thoroughly enjoyed VRchat on the original Rift. And before I ever had an Index, I bought a Quest. And the Quest sat in its case, and I used my original Rift, even though I did have the ability to use it wirelessly with Steam VR, even before Oculus Link was released. It stayed mostly in the box, so I'm not a big fan of the Quest, especially as a VRchat user. It is a great device in its own right for its own reasons. It's amazing the after launch updates that they've done for it. I'm not trying to trash it, but as far as quality and your best VR experience, I don't recommend it unless you just absolutely have no way of getting a PC that can run PCVR anytime soon, and it can run some great VR experiences very well. In that case, as a console, as a limited VR versus nothing experience, I would say, yeah, the Quest is worth what it costs for sure. But if you can get a PCVR headset and have a PCVR, I recommend, if you're on a budget, go with the Rift S. It's going to be comfortable out of the box, and the only downside to the Rift S out of the box is it doesn't have the quality headphones that the original Rift had, but there is a company working on bringing some aftermarket clip-on headphones to the table, and that would be a must-have in my opinion, because there's a personal preference for me, but I do not want to have to deal with headphones in addition to the headset. I have to stop what I'm doing and playing sometimes, set it all down. I want to be able to keep that as simple as possible. And after being spoiled with this Index off-ear 3D speakers, I mean, they can't be beat. And all I did was took quality speakers and set them a little bit off your ear. With the 3D audio, it really works amazing. You don't know whether the audio is in the room or elsewhere. So there I am, jumping back to the Index. That's another benefit of the Index. I mean, again, I've already given it the hands-down best headset option, but even the audio, it has a lot of benefits that are just simply a matter of not compromising on what actually worked with first-generation headsets. It's comfortable. It has IPD adjustment. It has off-ear, high-quality 3D audio included, built in. And then, so those are some pluses. It also has accurate base station tracking, which I know when they're trying to hype the Quest, they make a big deal out of how much it takes to set up. It is not hard to set up. You got to, if you wall mount the sensors, you only have to do it once for one. Calibration, it's not, I would not let the setup of sensors be a reason you pass on an Index. That is silly. Okay, so I'll try to move on from the Index. But again, the native, for VRchat, native tracker support, finger tracking can't be beat. And the best package for doing that is the Index. But for the Rift S, you can add, if you buy base stations and the trackers, you can use Space Calibrator to use full body tracking with an Index if you play VRchat through Steam VR. So you're going to be running extra resources to do that, but it works out okay. There are some drawbacks. It's not as good, not as nice as having it natively supported. I can tell you, I first gained full body tracking by using it hybrid with the original Rift. So at that time, the choice was the Rift or the Vive, and the Vive wands were just atrocious compared to the Rift Touch. And so that made the hybrid setup kind of the best of both worlds. Now, with the Index controllers available, that is no longer the case. It's still an interesting setup as a stepping stone towards full body. I mean, if you already have a Rift S, your next least expensive way to get full body tracking is to buy the base stations and do the hybrid setup. So there is an upgrade path too, because with the VRchat, you will likely reach a point that you would like to have full body tracking. And if you reach a point that you want to have it, it is worth whatever it takes to get if you're able to. You will not spend a lot of money and regret it. It will be everything you think it would be. It is great. There's no regrets about it. Whether you use it a little, use it a lot, as long as it's paid for and you're moving forward, you're not going to worry about what it costs you. You're just glad you have it. So full body tracking and VRchat, a major consideration. Okay.